The New York Giants fell to the Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football. What went wrong? And more importantly, what does this mean for the Giants season moving forward? All that and more coming up on today's Locked On Giants podcast.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode of the Locked On Giants podcast is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code Locked On NFL to get $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Hello, New York Giant fans. Welcome to another edition of the Locked On Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast family, your team every day. My name's Patricia Traina, P-Train. And I want to send a special welcome out to anybody who chooses to watch this podcast or listen to this podcast this morning, because it's not good, folks. It's just not good. The New York Giants getting totally dominated by the Seattle Seahawks Monday Night Football, 24-3. All right, 24-3. This team had 11 days to fix the problems, or most of the problems it had to start the season, and it looked worse. And against a Seattle team that, by the way, really didn't look as good as the numbers suggested, which I'll go over, a little later on in this podcast. So, folks, I know a lot of you have sent me letters and tweets and whatnot, venting. This is my venting period. I apologize in advance, but, I'm short on sleep, but I'm here for you as always. And I'm absolutely disgusted by what I saw with this Giants team. I am totally disgusted. So, normally I like to keep the show upbeat and positive. I'm not going to sugarcoat it because you guys deserve better. So we'll start breaking things down. And I'm going to start off with the offense. All right. And I've got to ask this question. What are the Giants trying to do on offense here? Are they trying to be the Buffalo Bills? I mean, I look at what they did in the start of the game. So the start of the game, they ran the ball and they were moving the ball well. And oh, by the way, I did not agree with the 4th and 1 decision where they went for it instead of getting points, especially considering how they have been struggling to score. But that's another story. All right. Then for the next 2 series, this team moves away from running the ball, except for maybe one Daniel Jones scramble. Are they trying to be the Buffalo Bills here? Because if they are, they better rethink this. Daniel Jones is not Josh Allen. This offensive line is not very good. So what exactly are these coaches trying to do? If somebody can explain it to me, please, I'd like to know. Because this offensive line, Andrew Thomas was missing. I get that. Yes, John Michael Schmitz went down with an injury. I get that. All right. They had 2 guys come in at left guard. Shane Lemieux, who, oh, by the way, got injured again. And then Mark Lewinsky, who quite honestly should have gone in before Shane Lemieux. Evan Neal was like a matador again with the Olay at the end. I don't know what the heck's going on with him. I mean, what are they trying to do? Receivers, supposedly were winning their routes. Daniel Jones got sacked 10 times. There were a total of 11 sacks, one of which was on Paris Campbell. Daniel Jones absorbed 10 sacks and 12 hits. And he wasn't guilty or guiltless, I should say, in this debacle for the offense. But how is a quarterback supposed to function when he's getting knocked around like a pinball? And at what point does Brian Daboll say, hey, Bobby, I'm referring to Bobby Johnson, of course, what's going on here? What are we doing with this offensive line? Why are guys looking like matadors? Why are guys, not holding the blocks or not executing their technique? What are we doing? I don't think there's an answer. I really don't. And again, 11 days to fix some of this stuff, and it's still not fixed. Now, let me talk about Daniel Jones here for a moment. Daniel Jones has regressed to what we saw 2 years ago. Part of that, obviously, is the protection. You cannot function when you can't trust your offensive line to hold its blocks. All right, I get that. But the 2 interceptions that he threw were just horrible decisions. And the pick six in particular, which, by the way, the Seahawks defender, Witherspoon, commented about how they read that play all the way because they had seen it on film, which is another cause for alarm with predictability. But that's another topic. All right. So Daniel Jones throws that ball. I think it was intended to Paris Campbell. It gets picked off, despite the fact, by the way, that Darren Waller was open a little further down. And Daniel never bothered to look because his internal clock is screwed up again. All right. Case in point, it's 6 points. Boom. End of game. What is this Giants team doing on offense? Just, I don't understand it. And I like to think I'm semi-intelligent, that I understand, and I try to look at both sides of the equation, what they were trying to do, what they didn't do. I'm sure, Darren Waller only got 3 targets. I think Darren Waller had to be kept in a lot to block after Daniel Bellinger left with a knee injury. So Darren Waller was frustrated after the game. But let me give you some numbers, offensively speaking. The Giants have been outscored in the first half of games 77-9. Let that sink in for a moment. 77-9. They have not scored a touchdown in the first half of any of their games played. All right. In 3 nationally televised games, and oh, by the way, there's another one coming up in 2 weeks. They have been outscored 94-15. And at home, they have been outscored 64-3. That is not good, folks. It just isn't. And this team, we're a quarter of the way done with the season. And this is about the time you start to draw conclusions as to what you have in your team. This is not a good team. And I don't understand why. They upgraded the talent. They kept the coordinators. They basically kept the coaching staff in place, the systems in place. This team has just not handled adversity well, and they have looked like a bunch of incompetence. And I'm not sugarcoating it, folks. I'm just not. Quite honestly, I'm not in the mood to be nice this morning. So I'm flabbergasted. I mean, 34 points is the amount of points that opponents have scored off Giant turnovers this season. There's been 8 turnovers, 34 points resulting from it. Giants are -8 in the turnover differential. My gosh. Wow. Just unbelievable. And by the way, 14 of those 34 points came in the game last night. So what are we doing with this team? I don't know. I really don't. All right. Coming up still on the Locked On Giants podcast, we're going to talk about the defense and special teams. And we might as well get the bad news out of the way. So I'll do special teams next and save the good for last. So please don't go anywhere. Hey, Giant fans, these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available, right? So that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. I myself have used LinkedIn Jobs to find writers and editors over for the site Giants Country that I run on Fan Nation. And the process is not only super easy, but a big time saver. Simply add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. And simple tools like screening questions make it super easy to focus on the candidates with just the right skill and experience so that you can quickly prioritize whom you'd like to interview and hire. So don't spend time sorting through endless resumes and dead-end leads. Put LinkedIn jobs to work for you today for free by visiting linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. Terms and conditions apply. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Locked On Giants podcast. You got Patricia Traina, P-Train here, and I'm in disbelief. I really am. I mean, you guys know I hate night games. I don't like the Giants on national TV. They don't do well on national TV. And I had somebody, by the way, write me a big, long letter about, oh, why are you bringing up the past? It's not the past. It's a fact. This team doesn't do well on national television. It hasn't for years, and it has continued for years. So I stand by what I said. All right, now let's talk about special teams. And special, please. 6 penalties on special teams in this game. 6. How does that happen? And 3 of them were of the discipline variety. All right. Now, it's interesting because special teams, I thought the last few weeks had been the least of the Giants' problems. This week, nope. Right back to where we started from with them. 6 penalties. All right. Then there was, I believe there was one Jase Medical punt, which the coverage team failed to down. What are they practicing? What are they teaching them in the classroom? How can these mistakes continue? I don't understand it. And look, I've said this before. I like Thomas McGahee, good man. I think he tries. He dealt with cancer like I did. So, us fellow cancer survivors have a bond. But I'm sorry, this has continued on and on. And you really, if you're Brian Dable, you got to take a look at this because you can't keep burying your head in the sands. This special teams unit is not helping the Giants to win. They're contributing to the loss and in an ugly way. And I don't get it. Graham Gano, he nailed his field goal, 55 yards, Mr. Reliable. That's why I call him that. I didn't think Jamie Gillian punted that badly. I thought his coverage team let them down. Eric Gray, can we talk about that one here? Eric Gray on his first punt did something he's done all summer. He dove for a ball, and the ball got muffed. And thank goodness Nick McLeod was nearby to recover it. Otherwise, that would have been a turnover. The fundamentals are missing on special teams. And I don't want to hear, it's because he's got different personnel coming up every week, and he doesn't know who he's going to have. I don't want to hear that. You know who your 53-man roster is. You know who you potentially are going to have, on any given week. Everybody should be participating in special teams so that if, God forbid, one of your core guys can't go, you have a backup ready to go. There's just no excuse for this. None. And I'm flabbergasted because Thomas McGahee, once upon a time, was a very good special teams coach. And lately, that unit has not been the same consistently at any rate since the Joe Judge days. And something's got to be done. Something has got to be done. What that something is, I don't know. The cavalry's not going to come riding in. But something has got to be done because they cannot continue with this unit playing the way it did last night. I want to go back to something else from the offense for a moment here before I move on to the defense, which, by the way, I didn't think the defense was that bad. I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't that bad. But I want to go back to something on the offensive side of the ball. There was a shot of Brian Dable on the sideline with Daniel Jones. Actually, there were a couple of shots where Dable was trying to talk to Jones, and Jones walked past him. And then later on, there was a shot of Dable talking to Jones. He had a tablet in his hand and kind of threw the tablet away in frustration. Not a good look. Now, look, I get it. Dable is a fiery guy. I understand that. But for the love of God, get your emotions under control here. That, if you're going to get mad, get angry at what's going on the field. I mean, all right, yeah, the interception was stupid. It was a bad throw, like I said. But I don't know. I just thought that was misplaced. Dable afterwards tried to downplay it. And then, in his his Tuesday morning conference call with reporters, he downplayed it again. You gotta, this isn't the first time Dable's been caught giving an earful to a player. And I understand football's a game of emotion, but you got to get that under control with the TV cameras, because now speculation is running wild. Oh, Dable and Jones are at odds. I don't think that's the case, folks. I really don't. I don't get that impression. I didn't last night, and I still don't get it. But it's still a bad look. And it just, accentuates the garbage that we saw last night. So, I don't know what the answer is there, but they might want to rethink how they're going about this. I just, again, something has got to change. I mean, this team, when it gets punched in the mouth, just doesn't respond the way it did last year. Last year, when it got punched in the mouth, when it faced adversity, it came back swinging. Not this year. They get punched in the mouth and they curl up into a ball. And, in the locker room, guys express frustration. They express remorse. They express disbelief. Take control of the situations, guys. Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. What can you do better? We can all do something better. I can be better. They can be better. Everybody can be better at what they're doing. And I just don't get that. And one of the concerns I have is, as these losses pile up, and as you guys know, they've got Miami next and then Buffalo after that. So this team could conceivably be looking at 1-5. All right. Take accountability before this locker room starts to splinter. And I kind of got the impression last night, just listening to some of the players, one player was asked about the coaching and how much they have how much that has to do with it. And the player took a long time before answering, as if he was trying to hold back. Another player said, I think it was Dexter Lawrence, said, I may have to hurt some feelings here. There's frustration boiling up in that locker room. And if that frustration boils over to the point where that locker room starts to fracture, God help us all. It's going to be a long, long year. And, this is truly a test for Brian Dable. And it's got to start with him. He's got to get this under control. And that starts with him getting some of those emotions that he, pops off the players under control. Won't happen because he is who he is, but that's where it's got to start. All right, coming up next, we'll talk about the defense, which, believe it or not, of the three units, was probably the best of the units. So please don't go anywhere. Hey, Giant fans, snap into NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use and you can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So go on, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get started. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Welcome back, Giant fans, to the Locked On Giants podcast. You got Patricia Traina, P-Train. And folks, I'm venting today. I'm venting. because I sat through garbage like the rest of you did. Only thing is I had to sit through it till 3:00 in the morning before I could get to bed. And I went to bed just, in disbelief of what I saw. And just searching for answers. And, thank God I slept. But when I woke up this morning, I still had no answers. And to sit down and try and write or articulate, what happened, I just can't do it. I can't. I wish I had something to say that would make it better for you guys, because you guys deserve better. You deserve better than what the Giants put on the field last night. And it was just awful. But let's talk about something that was fairly good. And I say fairly because compared to the offense and special teams, I thought the defense had the best night out of the 3 units. Barely. All right. If you think about it, the defense only allowed 10 points in this game. All right. Which should have been enough for the Giants to win had the offense gotten its head out of its you-know-whats. That being said, Kayvon Thibodeau came to play. Had a pretty good game, all things considered. That being said, I didn't see Dexter Lawrence really making impacts. I didn't see Leo making much of an impact. I think the only time I heard Leo's name was he got called for an offsetting penalty. I saw missed tackles again. Supposedly this was supposed to be cleaned up, and there was missed tackles. I think it was Noah Fant's long run that set up the Drew Lock touchdown drive. There were, I think, Adoree Jackson and Bobby Okereke had missed tackles. So still sloppiness on the defensive side of the ball. And again, I've got to ask, what are they doing on the defensive side of the ball? What are they trying to be? It's like the offense and the defense are searching for an identity. I think that the offense is trying to be Buffalo Light, which is not going to happen. The defense, I'm not sure what they're trying to be. And, whatever happened to just going back to the basics, looking at what you have and just bringing out the strengths in those guys? Are they really putting guys in the best position to succeed? Last night, not so much so, but I'll use Thibodeau as an example. Having him drop back into coverage as much as he has this year, is that really putting the kid in the best position to succeed when he's better off hunting and going forward? What are these coaches doing? Yes, the players miss the tackles. The players do the execution or lack thereof, but they have to be put in the right position to win. And if anybody out there thinks that they have been, I'm sorry, I disagree. I totally disagree. All right. I don't think they've been put in good positions to win at all. Now, at the top of the program, I mentioned that the Seahawks weren't very good. So I'm going to give you, from the game book, some numbers to kind of illustrate what I'm talking about. Seattle was 3 of 12, 25% on third down conversions. Seattle managed just 281 net yards versus the Giants' 248. They averaged 5.5 yards per play. They had 8 penalties for 74 yards. And by the way, the penalties, it seemed like every other play there was a flag being thrown. So I don't know what was up with that. The Seahawks had 24 minutes time of possession. And folks, they won 24-3, which is the only number at the end of the day that matters. This Seahawks team was beatable. Absolutely beatable. The Giants, they beat themselves, pure and simple. This game was, they're all must wins, but this one was you absolutely can't lose. The Giants have lost it. And now I don't see how they salvage the season. I mean, barring a miracle, barring an upset of Miami and Buffalo to even out their record, I don't see how they salvage their season. And I hate to say that because, look, I've been around a long time. I have gone through bad seasons with this team. I know the effect it has on my podcast, on my numbers over on Giants Country, on the fan interest in general, on, the letters that I get from you guys. And it's just, I'm sorry. It's just terrible. It's absolutely terrible. It's indefensible. And, I was joking with my husband at breakfast. I said, there's a part of me that says I should, bring a complaint against this team because for all the bad football that they played that over the years has cost me money, has cost me earnings. Well, I don't know, guys. I'm just, I'm at a loss for words. I've kind of poured my heart out here to you guys as you have done to me. And by the way, those of you who have sent me letters, I'm going to do over on Giants Country. I'm going to just do like a vent article. So those of you who might be listening to this, if you want to contribute to the vent article, try and get your letters into me. Let's see. If you get them into me by this afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, say by 3:00, I can put all the the letters up into an article. We all need a group hug, ladies and gentlemen, because last night was not good. I don't know what's going to get any better. I hope it does, but I need a reason to believe. And right now, this team has not given me one. So I wish I could have been more positive. I wish I could have been more upbeat for you because you guys deserve better. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say, all is well, remain calm. I can't do that to you guys. So that said, I want to thank you for letting me get this all off my chest. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for being an everydayer, a newcomer, everything in between, a subtexter. You guys are the best. You deserve better. We're all in this together, folks. We are all suffering this morning. And all I can say before I close out is I hope whenever you're watching this, you have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, depending on when you're watching this. I will see you tomorrow, Giant fans.